Now, there's nothing I can do for you tonight that will teach you how to fill out an agreement for every applicable deal that you're going to do, both buying and selling, because they vary. They're going to vary. They're all going to have different things that go in them. You just got to understand that the only reason for you to fill out this agreement is for you to get a meeting of the minds converted to print the best you can. You're not an attorney. You're not going to act like an attorney. You're not expected to know what an attorney knows. And you're not expected to be very good at this. But you are expected to write down what you're thinking so that somebody reading this can understand what the process was or what the agreement was. So as you go on, as time goes on, you get better and better at it. And there's really nothing you're going to do in here that's going to make a big difference in your life if you make a mess out of it. The worst it can cost you is a little bit of money. Well, I guess the worst it could cost you is the whole deal because the seller changes their mind, decides to bail out of it, and you don't really have a binding agreement. That's probably the worst that can happen. So you're going to learn this in time, just like you learn everything else. But you have to start by be willing to whip up one and present it and get it signed, knowing that it probably could use some corrections. Now, for all of you, those that are doing deals, and man, those mentors are working their butts off for you guys over there next door. They have been, and I'm telling you, they're not going to do it tomorrow. Tomorrow, they're going to get a chance to relax for a little bit, and we're still going to work them, but they're not going to do it the pace that they've been the last couple of days. Now, Tom is looking at agreements, and he's grading them and trying to get them ready. And if you do not get your agreement critiqued before you leave, then go to any mentor. Let them take a look at it. Do not leave until your agreement is critiqued, because you're probably going to have to go back and write another one after it's critiqued. And again, the best you can. Shh. None of them will be perfect, so don't worry about it. So let me go through them. And again, it's late at night. You're in a fog. You're only half here. So that this is going to take with you, and you can go back and listen to it until you can't stand it anymore. It's an hour and a half just on that one DVD. So all of these agreements are tested over time. They are agreements that are written to apply to any state. However, do you have to go to your attorney and have your attorney check it over for compliance for your state? Yes or yes? All right. Sometimes your attorney will say, I don't like that agreement. We're going to use mine. I'm okay with that, but if you use his, you probably better be familiar with what's in mine that should be in his, because if you use his, yes, you're using a standard agreement that they use in their state, but there's some cool stuff that I got in these things that you're not even going to know that are not in the agreement that he's using. And I'm okay if your attorney adds something to this agreement. If he adds addendums to it, he probably will add disclaimers and disclosures or whatever, and I'm okay if he wants to make some changes to it. But if you choose to just whack this in and throw it aside and use his, everything will probably work out most of the time. But there are some stuff that was added to this that could only have been learned over time, and it's all added for your protection. So let's start. Well, let's start with scripts. Get out your scripts. Now, these are not all the scripts we have. Your boot camp manual has more scripts than this in it. And incidentally, the course you got when you came in here has different scripts in it dedicated to high-end houses. And you can read those when you get a chance. Those scripts that are in your big chunks manual are designed for you to go to high-end sellers knowing that you have no intent to personally buy or personally lease option, that your intent is to put it under contract, plug-in buyer. That's a different script than when I'm calling somebody to actually buy it or lease option it myself, and you get different answers to the objections. For example, well, how do I know you'll make my payments? Well, if you're going to buy, that's one answer. But if you're going to plug in another buyer, that's another answer. So you have to know your intent when you're reading the scripts so that you use the right script. Now, I have labeled these. All of you will be using these scripts you have in your hands here on your lower end deals. And I've labeled them at the top so that you can easily reference what they're used for. First one is a script to call back a FSBO with a yes on, will you sell for what you owe? So if your property information sheet is checked yes on that block, you pick up this script and you call them and you read it. It says, hi, John. You put the first name of the seller in there. And I always address them with their first name, not their last name. Now, if I'm 22 years old and I'm talking to a 70-year-old man, I best be using his last name. Young people do not address old people by their first name. You have to earn the right to address people by their first name, and that means you have to live long enough. There's no way to buy that right either. However, most of you in the room, you will be addressing folks by their first name. They like to hear their first name. Don't you all like to hear your first name? Okay? So everybody likes to be called by their name. Hi, John. This is Ron calling about your home you discussed with my assistant yesterday. Do you have a minute? Shut up. When you say, do you have a minute, you shut up. You wait for an answer. You're asking permission to take their time. And most always you'll say yes. Sometimes you'll say yes. No, I can't talk right now. Okay, well, I've got all the facts here. Do you? You do if the property information sheet's filled out correctly. You absolutely do. Then you've indicated you sell the house for what you owe on it. Is that correct? Look at your lines. Follow your lines. If the answer is no, right there, then what did you have in mind? If the answer is yes, well, okay. Well, I can come see the house and likely buy it and close as soon as you're ready and pay closing costs, but the only way for me to do so is to take over your debt. That means I'll buy your house and make the payments when you and I agree I'll start, but the loan will stay in your name until sometime in the future when I get it cashed out. Well, that'd be a problem for you. Is that an elephant in the room that should be addressed before you go out to see the house? Because will you sell the house for what you owe on it could mean that they think you're going to come write them a check for the loan balance. And so you got to make it clear that is not your intent. So now when they, or if they're okay with that, if they say it's not a problem, then you simply go to the appointment script and make the appointment. There's nothing to negotiate. They told you they'd sell for what they owe. You know what the payment is. You know what the loan balance is. You know what the ARV is. There's nothing to negotiate. There's no term to talk about. There's no interest rate to talk about. There's no down payment to talk about. The deal is done. Time to go to the house and then see if you want the house. So you make an appointment, which the script is in here for that. Well, if they say, well, no, I can't do that, then you go right down, follow the line. See where it says yes? Yes, that is a problem. Well, if that's an issue, I can also lease it or buy it with owner financing and cover your payments with rent and handle all the repairs. Does that seem more appealing? If that seems more appealing, you make the appointment. If that doesn't seem more appealing, you get off the phone. So you're saying the only way I can buy your house is if I pay off your loan? Yeah. Well, sorry, I'm not your huckleberry. Can't help you. And you get off the phone. Although anytime you get off the phone, you want to always leave the door open. Well, John, I can't. That's not something that I'd be interested in doing. I only deal with sellers who wanted to work with terms. So if things don't work out, call me back, and I'm sure I can buy your house for what you owe on it, and likely even pay the closing costs. But I will not pay off your loan right now. Leave the door open. All right? Let's go to the next one. Turn the page. Script to call back a FSBO with a free and clear house. This is one that scares everybody because they don't know what to say. They know what to say because they don't know what they're trying to accomplish. With a yes on owner financing question. When you're calling people with a free and clear house, they say yes, they'll do terms. Now you're calling them to confirm they'll do terms and then figure out in a general idea what the seller has in mind for terms. So what is the only way for us to figure out what the seller wants. Exactly. Ask them what they'll accept. Could I have some water up here, please? So, same opening. Hi, John. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. I've got all the facts here, but you've indicated you'd entertain taking monthly payments if we agree on price and terms. Is that correct? Look at the answer. If it's yes, look at the arrow all the way down to the bottom. Okay. Well, John, what's the least you could accept on the price if we agree on the terms? Shut up. Wait for answer. No, this is not the time to say, is that the best you can do? Because price is not my main concern here. And you want to be careful that you don't try to negotiate too heavily before you even go see the house and build a relationship. If they will give me terms, let me worry about the price later if I don't like it. Let me get to the real important questions first, because, guys, the price is not the important point when you get terms. You've seen deals up here. We are willing to pay retail price for the house if we get the good terms, because we know we're going to get paid from that big down payment coming in. So, all right. What's the least you could take for price? And if you want to say, is that the best you can do? Okay, but kill it there. Do not argue with them about price. All right, well, then, here's the big one. May I assume you will sell with nothing down? Shut up and wait. And it might be a long wait, or seem like a long wait. What are you expecting them to say when you ask that? No. You're not expecting them to say yes. You're expecting them to say, no, hell no, I ain't going to do that. That's what you're expecting them to say, aren't you? All right? Well, every once in a while somebody will say that, but it's actually more rare than you would imagine. Now, they're either going to say, well, yes, and if they say yes, what are you going to do? Yeah, be careful. Don't choke. Don't scream. Just act like you expected it. Okay. May I assume means I expected them to sell with nothing down. All right? And, of course, when they come back and say, no, I can't do that, you're going to say, what are you going to say? It's right in front of you. Read it. What do you mean you don't have one? I told you guys, one per entity. So who's a couple and can give up one? Raise your hand right now if you got one you can give up. All right. So how many are we missing? Who don't have one? Wow. How did that happen? Jennifer, you better get a count on how many we're missing, because you're going to make copies tomorrow and deliver it to them. Yeah, but I'll be through the time you get through. I find no humor in that. And where's my water? Yes, Jen. I don't have any idea what you just said.
Hold your hand up so she can see exactly how many copies to make.
Okay, the answer is you need 27 more. 28 more. All right. Boy, I'm telling you, I'm losing control here. Thank you. I think that rose is still on, they think. Like I said, you need 40. Okay, so for those of you who have one of these things, may I assume you sell with nothing down, and when the answer comes back, no, I can't do that, then what's the least you could take down? Shut up and wait. All right, then what's the lowest monthly payment you could take? You have to know the answers to those questions, or you really don't know what to do next. You don't even know if you want to go to the house or not. Because sometimes you'll get an answer like, well, I'd sell it with half down. In fact, we had one of those today. So if you sell it with half down, do you need to go see the house? Okay, all right. Immediately, I say, well, there's no way I can do it with half down. In fact, I can either, here's what I'd say. I can either buy your house, that would require little or nothing down, or I can find a buyer on terms who will put up a down payment. Either way, I do require you to sell it on terms and with reasonable terms. So based on that, should I come look? No? Yes. If the answer is yes, I'll go look. Time to go make an appointment. All right. Look at the script for capturing the mortgage info on the property information sheets. Some people have trouble with that one. And missed one, didn't I? No, I didn't. All right, it's on the back. Anyway, somebody says, well, you say, well, what do you owe? I say, that's none of your business. Anybody ever had that? Well, listen, I understand your concern, but we buy houses using several methods, and all will require that information for us to analyze if it's a fit or not. Sometimes we pay cash, but if you owe more than we can pay, obviously that won't work. And sometimes we buy with terms or lease purchase. Of course, that has to be structured around your debt. What we won't do is pay cash at full retail price. So if you tell me now that that's the only way you wish to sell, then I really won't need the information because I'm out. But if you're flexible enough to let us offer you one or more options at no cost or risk to you, I'll need that information. Now, if they still won't give you the information, do you have all the information you need? Okay. Now, what do you need to do next? What do you need to do next? You're done. Okay, so is that a reality? Are you going to get some of those? Okay. You're going to get a lot less of them because your VA is going to be doing that crap for you. All right. Let's look at the lease option script, which happens to be on the back. Turn all the way to the back. Just flip it over. Script to call back a FSBO with a yes on a lease option question. In other words, you got a yes circled in the middle block. Okay, well, look, I got all the facts here, and you've indicated you do a lease purchase. Is that correct? If the answer is no, so are you saying you won't lease purchase? And then you follow, and look, you follow that answer down to yes or no. If they won't lease purchase, if the answer is yes, they're saying they won't lease purchase, well, then would you rather I buy it with owner financing if we can work out the terms? Okay. What's the lease sales price you could accept if we agree? What's the least, is that the best you can do? May I assume you sell with nothing down? You recognize those questions? All right. And then if they say, if no, then get off the phone, because if they won't sell with a lease purchase and they won't do owner financing, there's nothing else you can do. Remember, the pretty house business is a synonym for terms. No terms, no deal, no terms, door. Over. So your whole goal, clarify they will do terms. And then try to clarify what terms. There's only two ways to do it. I'm either going to buy it with a lease purchase, or I'm going to owner finance it. Or I'm going to take over the debt. And now look at the yes answer. Okay, well, I can probably lease it and cover your payments with rent. We can work on the price when I get there after I do a little homework. As long as I know you're flexible and realistic, I'm ready to move forward. May I assume you are? The answer is yes. Appointment script. So let's look at the appointment script. You should have this appointment script in front of you when you're making an appointment, because if you don't, you're going to screw it up. All right, well, I got a couple more questions, John. First, are you the only owner of the house? Do you need to know that? If they're not the only owner of the house, you better find out who the rest of the owners are, because you should not be going to the house unless the owners are there. If you do, you're wasting your trip, and it's counterproductive. It'll do you more harm than good, because now you've got one person trying to explain it to another person, and it's a wasted trip anyway, because you can't get an agreement signed unless all owners are present, if possible. Not always possible. Sometimes the owners aren't even in the same city, so you got to go see the house and send in the agreements. Sometimes one of the spouses is gone. Sometimes you got the War of the Roses going on. Go see it with the one that shows it and send an agreement to the other. All right, last question. If I come to your house and I like what I see and we agree on the details, are you ready to make a decision now and get some paperwork done while I'm there? Don't you want to know they're ready to do business if you truck all the way out to their house? Okay, well, I trucked about 100 times before I figured to answer that question. People jerking me around. So, you know, pre-screen, 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 pre-screen. All right, got scripts?